Hello my friends, if you've been paying attention, you know that I've been talking about fecal transplants, and there's almost nothing I don't think that you can't cure with this. I'm serious, almost nothing. Now, I'm just saying, somebody should look into this. The procedure takes 10 to 15 minutes. Patients then are asked to hold the stool in as long as they possibly can, usually about an hour. This is like an enema from a colonoscopy. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. They shoot this poop into you. Most are able to do. They hold them in for an hour. Then the bowel movement after the procedure may be a little irregular, but patients generally begin to feel relief from their original symptoms in 48 to 72 hours. They start getting better from this C. difficile that they cannot treat. It's so bad, this diarrhea that they had. And 80 to 90% cure after the fecal transplant. They feel better about 2 to 3 days after the procedure, and then a week later, they're usually feeling back to normal. Wait till you hear what I have to tell you. And then they speak about taking care with antibiotic use. That's the key. That's the thing that's causing all these troubles. Now, think of what the healthcare system would be like if everybody was almost healthy. Everybody's getting sick. And I mean really sick, because they are destroyed in the gut. And I will show that. Okay, my friends, this is the most important thing you will ever see. This is about the gut microbiome. And I have been digging in so deep, and there is so much research on this. You see every one of those tabs? Every one of those tabs talks about how important the gut microbiome is in every single bit of your life. If you're heavy, if you're overweight, it's because your gut microbiome. If you have a head injury, it will destroy your gut. Your gut is so important, and it's bacteria that is communicating with the rest of your body. And if that bacteria goes bad, you're in trouble. All right, you're going to see so much of this, it'll make you sick to your stomach. Anyway, exploring the impact of gut bacteria on gut health. Now, here's the deal. We're going to look at this right here. This is what I say. And everybody's saying it now. It's not just me. All right, every bacteria, every enzyme, every blood, this is what we need in a database. And these are the different things that affect you. We need the bacteria. What bacteria are in you or in these samples that we're going to have for a test? We need a test. And what I would do is to start with little babies. Find out what you come out of the womb with as far as bacteria goes. Is it everybody have the same stuff? Are you specifically changed by your mother from what they eat? I mean, there's so much we could learn here. Every enzyme we need to know. Because these bacteria create enzymes. Usually the two are going to be related. In my world, that's what's going to happen. Every blood mineral, and that again, the bacteria creates enzymes. Enzymes normally work on the blood minerals. Again, bacteria, blood metals. They make the metals. They harvest them just like they do in a waste treatment plant. Again, urine components. What is in the urine? And again, the bacteria creates the enzymes, and enzymes break the things down. This is the thing. What's in the sputum? The sputum is also going to have, the stuff you spit up. That's going to have the same sort of things. What are the components in there? There's going to be bacteria all over there. If you're healthy, then what's in your hair follicles? What's collecting in your deep tissues? That would be interesting. Then you want to know the categories, every disease and the severity. In other words, we're going to make a database. We need all these things that are in a normal person. What kind of bacteria, what kind of enzymes, what blood material, and all of those in numerical values. We got 10,000 of different types of bacteria, and you really want to know the strains. And just identify them 1 to up to 10 billion or whatever they are. No, because they create enzymes. If you don't have the enzymes, you're done. And that's from the bacteria, and we put antibiotics in and so forth. Now, so how do we get around? How do we find out what is right and what is wrong, and who's affected? What about your age? What about your sex? What about your race? Well, we need all that stuff along with this data. Then we can draw a graph to say, if you're an Indian type person from India, and that's different from a Caucasian, maybe you're going to have some different blood metal or mineral in you. that is just from something that's different in your racial makeup. All right, and that's, people look different. They have different colored skins. Obviously, something's different. All right, so we need to know every single disease that you've ever had, which is associated to these things. Well, what you're having when we see this. So you make a category of all these different things. I have a skin issue, and my teeth are sore, whatever you want, some kind of fungus, and the severity of the issue that you have, and so it's like a health history thing. Your sex, your age, your lifestyle, medical history, if you're taking a lot of drugs and you're taking a lot of antibiotics, really where you live, because that's a big difference too. A lot of people in inner cities, their water supply and food supply is absolutely horrifying. Horrifying. I would love to see what their bacteria are. Maybe they're healthier. I don't know. But some of their, there's a lot of places that are just not fair for people. It really is, and it's a whole nother issue. All right, what kind of foods do you get? And again, in the inner cities, the foods are limited. They can't even get the right foods. What kind of drinks do you have? And what's your water supply like? And then your miscellaneous thing. So all of these are going to be in a database related to all of these different numerical values. When you get a guy comes in, he says, I'm 42 years old, I'm male, and I drink a lot of alcohol, and I've got eczema, and my hair falls out, whatever it is. And then you take his list of all these things, you match it up to what is considered healthy, where they don't have any of those issues. Blip. And you'll see, I'm high in this, low in this, I'm high over here, whatever it is. And normally it's going to be a bacteria that's not creating an enzyme, and so one of these things is going to be out of whack. A mineral, a metal, a urine, a sputum, hair. That's what we need a database. All right, here's Mass General. Impact of gut bacteria on weight, and what they're going to be doing is fecal transplants. All right, fecal microbiota transplant for improvement of metabolism. That's what you're missing. You're missing the metabolism because the bugs do the metabolizing. There's just a little illustration of how these bugs have to be in certain places, certain types of bugs. There's certain mucus bugs, and then there's the other types of bugs that reside inside the fabric of the membrane. Two different types, and they're affected differently. The mucosal bacteria appears to be pretty heavily affected by infections. The other bacteria doesn't seem to be affected as much. Now, that's an interesting thing. Whether the mucus still has enough preventative to keep the underlying protected, even though it gets destroyed, I don't know. These are things, there's a lot of work to do here. All right, here's tryptophan, which is gut microbiota, and tryptophan. Tryptophan is, you have to have it or you die. And these effects are mediated by metabolites that are either produced by the microbes or derived from transformation of environmental or host molecules. That means it breaks down in your stomach because of the bacteria. And you need the tryptophan. If you don't have it, you're dead. You see, this is E. coli, and there's certain types of E. coli. If you don't have it, you're going to die. And this is making the tryptophanase. Now listen to this. The signaling molecule indole, which is in your intestines, occurs in significant amounts in the mammalian intestinal tract. This indole, very important, and regulates diverse microbial processes, including bacterial motility, that's how they move around, biofilm formation, that is the mat that they live in, antibiotic resistance, which keeps them alive, and host cell invasions. I don't know what else to say. This is so important, and it's all in your gut. All right, then you're still with this E. coli and a tryptophanase, which is the byproduct, the enzyme. Tryptophanase is a bacterial enzyme. The bacteria make it, involved in degrading tryptophan and making it into the indole we just talked about you have to have for your intestines. Then pyruvate and ammonia, which are the compounds essential for bacterial survival. You have to have this stuff. It just goes on and on. Here this is the tryptophans again, and the chitinins, and this exercise, inflammation, mental health, from the stomach ache to your depression. Our gut hurts. It's all the same thing. Here's the indole again, the scent of a healthy inner soil. The odor of your feces is very indicative of your health. Tryptophan, essential amino acid with indole nucleus. Humans cannot produce this amino acid themselves, must obtain it through their diet, and that's through their diet by microbes. The microbes, say through your diet you just eat this stuff. Well, that's fine, but if you don't have the microbes to process that stuff, I don't care how much you eat of it, it's not going to help you. It's the microbes. Look at this, tryptophan again. Wound healing, chronically stressed mice through inhabit the different factors that stress prolongs inflammation response, compromising dermal reconstruction. Wounds, it's everything. You're right, lysosomal enzymes. Enzymes are from bacteria in synovial membrane in rheumatoid arthritis, relationship to joint damage. It's all bacteria. All right, this is like the second brain, the vagus nerve, which regulates from your brain to your gut. And there is no question whatsoever, because if you get a traumatic brain injury, your gut goes bad. If your gut goes bad, your head goes bad. And it's psychiatric diseases, inflammatory disease. It's all between the gut and the brain. If your gut's good, your brain should be good. Now, there's another issue, though, which is called tubulin and myelin, which is not your gut bacteria, but it's produced, I believe, by the gut bacteria, and those are the insulating factors for your nerve and neuron pathways. If you don't have that, it's a fatty substance versus a protein substance, which is in your membranes. That's the bacterial sort of things down there and the fabrics down there. But in your brain, you need these fatty acids, fatty molecules to surround all of your brain impulses, because they're all electrical. So it's all starting to fall into place, but it's all regulated in the gut. I don't care what anybody else says. And I'm just going to keep going through here. We'll be here all day. Remember tryptophan, the chitinine pathways? Why is it important to neurotherapy with your brain going bad? Because these pathways are created by bacteria and through the tryptophan process. Remember pyruvate? That's another process. It's a tryptophan cascade. And it's a keystone molecule critical for numerous aspects of eukaryotic and human metabolism. You see, this is 40 years ago. Back then, they had membrane-bound enzymes, they thought. They're actually, the bacteria are infused and bound in the membranes, and they create the enzymes. So the membrane-bound enzymes have certain specific differences compared with soluble enzymes. They're the ones that make the soluble enzymes. You could take soluble enzymes as a byproduct, but these just squirt them out for you. So there's just another thing. I'm going to just keep going. Here's Tourette's syndromes and infections. All right, you see this is going to be talking about the membranes. These are the microtubules, and they're bacterial microtubules. And this is the tubulin microtubules, has been identified as a membrane component of nerve synaptosomes and myelin. That is the structural pathway of your nerves. It can lead to schizophrenia, brain seizures, all kinds of psychotic autism. Literally everything is controlled by bacteria in these membranes. Once you short these things out, anything can happen. No, you have to understand the structure of it. And in plasma membranes consist of both lipids and proteins. Lipids are the fatty stuff that is the tubulin and the myelin and the brain stuff, or your nerves. Proteins are in the fabrics of the membranes in your gut and so forth. And but the fundamental structure of the membrane is a phospholipid bilayer. So there's two layers of carbon, and they have these little hydrophobic, which means they don't want water in there, but on the outsides of both they want water. It's hydrophilic, they want water, and in the middle they're no water. You can look it up. It's kind of tricky, anyway, this is how these membranes are built. I'm understanding them pretty good, and I think there's a way to get around this stuff if there was some serious research done and find out what these things harbor, what's inside these plasma membranes, what sections of the gut have what bacteria, what's the quantities, what's the bad ones, how do you get the bad ones out and get the good ones back in? There's a lot to understand here. Can they just invade them with enemas? I think so. It's possible. I've heard that it was done and it works. But you obviously don't want any bad bacteria. So these are the kind of things that have to be looked into. All right. This is very important. Apoptosis, necrosis, which means apoptosis means programmed cell death. They say it's programmed. I say it's the enzymes go out and attach to certain molecules that they want to kill off because they're not functioning correctly, and it's called apoptosis, and they call it programmed cell death. Let's just go with that. Necrosis means things are dying, and necroposis in the gut and intestinal homeostasis. So with the things that are dying inside your gut, and how do you handle that? Homeostasis means regularly and just make everything comfortable. Well, you have to have the bacteria. The bacteria do this. And then, of course, you have your white blood cells and all that stuff. But just listen to this. This is really important. Intestinal epithelial cells, that's the layer, form a physiochemical barrier, separates intestinal lumen from the host internal stuff, and is critical for electrolyte passages. That's information. Nutrient absorption, taking in the stuff without getting the bad stuff in. Interaction with commensal microbiota. Commensal means stuff that works for you. So all of this stuff is very, very, very important. And, well, here's something I highlighted. Let's see what this is. Maintaining barrier function and commensal composition in healthy intestine is also ensured by a basal activation pattern recognition receptors. You have receptors in there too, and they have to understand what am I supposed to do? You can't just let the things just run wild down there. You got receptors everywhere in your body. You have no clue how many receptors you have in your body. Anyway. And then it goes on, it gets real technical, but there's acids-induced things, and there's receptors. Look at this. Oligomerase domain, like receptor such and such, and retinoic acid-inducible genes. The acids make the gene do what it's supposed to do. This is chemical reactions, interactions, very, very, very elegant. And your brain, working with your gut, through the vagus nerve, which brings the things down and sends them back and forth. They work back and forth. That's all I can say. And it's time to take this in a much more serious dimension. Here's, the obesity. What's this one? Respiratory, pathogens, and mucus. Mucus, the first thing that you hits when you start is your mucus. And guess what? Cigarettes, nicotine kills mucus. It kills the bacteria. Nicotine is a antibiotic. I was really shocked when I saw that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. All right, it's time to really change things, and this fecal transplant seems to be something that I can't see why it wouldn't be done for almost everything. Because literally every single disease I put in there, followed by and digestive disorders, bang, you get a hit. I don't care what it is. Cystic fibrosis, anything to do with your stomach, skin conditions, put anything in. They all have something to do with the gut.